Hey guys, so Jordan's been asking me to make a tutorial on how to do the 3-light setup for photons. Basically what you're doing is taking your 3 photon lights and you string it up with a shoelace. You don't need zip ties or any of that. And personally I think it's the best way to do it. It spins very well. You don't get the zip ties tearing into the string. You don't get your arm cut up from the zip tie bits. I think it's a lot better. So first off, what you're going to do is just put first light on. Doesn't matter how you do it. Just like that. Keep these the same length, just so it's even lengths when you finish. Then you're going to take your second light and line it up so that when you pull it all together, it'll sit like that. Both same orientation, buttons are same size. So you thread it on, pull down, and you'll end up with something like that. You can just fold it over. Then you take your other string, other side of the string, because this is just one lace, and you pull it through the bottom, pull it tight, and keeping it tight is important because it'll give it a better spin later. You won't have it wobbling as much. So when you're done with that, you should have a little stitch and both strings coming out the same light. From there you just repeat that with the next light. And this does work if you go for more than just 3 lights. I've done it with 4. I don't see why you couldn't do it with more than that even. But yeah, just put that on with that string, grab the other side, and go through the bottom. And now that's attached. But there's no stitch connecting right there, so you just got 2 stitches. So this is where if you wanted to do a 4th light, you'd put it in that gap and just stitch it on. But I'm going to stick to 3 today, so I'm going to finish it by going back to my original light and just bridging that gap. So just pull through, grab the other one, take that through the bottom of it. And this setup is nice because it's really easy to do once you've learned it. It's easy to carry spare shoestring. You can restring this in just a minute. Oh, did I fuck that up? I did. Sorry. So yeah, it's really easy to fix if something were to break on it. Really easy to adjust, take apart and put back together if you want a new color, whatever. And this one needs to go over and down. And it sounds complicated at first, but once you've done it once, you'll see that it isn't really as tricky as one would think. So, now that I fixed my fuck up, we got 3 little stitches there, and both come out the same side. So usually I'll just pull on it, make sure nothing seems too loose to me, and that's just to make my life easier later. But that feels good. So now what you do is you take one string and you want to put it through the center of the lights. This has been a little tricky for me with this string, but that went relatively smoothly. See, it's now through and it's in the center. That's what you want, so when it wraps, it's centered. Take the bottom string, just that one, and you're going to pass that through this bottom up to the top. And this is a little tricky just because it's a lot of shoestring in one spot. But with a little bit of force, you can usually get it. Pull tight on that. See, these aren't terribly loose. I can shake it and it doesn't move too much. Well, that one does, but it'll be fine. That's really just it. That's the whole setup. Like, and yeah, so that's all you got to do. The one thing I will say I recommend doing though, just make your life easier, is take just a little hair tie, you pop it on, give it a turn, and you just wrap it around the entire orbit. And basically this just adds a little more reinforcement, pulling everything centered. Keeps the spin a little smoother, a little straighter. Because you will notice with shoestring, if you don't do this when you do arm wraps and that, it'll knock them out of balance, and then it doesn't spin very well until you force it. But yeah, that is it. That's the shoestring orbit for little photons. Only other thing I do with mine is I use 2 photons as handles, just because it's nice to have some handle lights. I think the weight balance is pretty good. But yeah, I love this little setup. I think it's probably maybe second best option out there. Definitely one of the best, especially compared to UFO. As great as that's been, this setup is pretty cheap and a lot of fun. So yeah, if you got any questions, let me know. Happy to help out. Thanks.